I can't believe I'm still wearing long sleeves. It's the end of May, but that means it's time for a garden tour. Welcome to Joy of the Garden and Home. Let's start up here on the balcony where not much is going on, which is pretty much the story, but not really. I recently transplanted my ground cherries. I usually do 3 in these containers, milk crates, and they do really well here. I need to use the tomato cage to keep them from flopping over with the high winds. And this is primarily like south and west sun. Also on this balcony are my ever-bearing strawberries, doing well. I trimmed them up. I do need to feed the soil a little bit, but we are getting berries coming in, and that lasts all season. It's awesome. Now here are all the plants I still have to get in the ground. Well, most of them. Some of them are duds or extras, but I'd say this is still 2/3 of the plants that need to go in. Some are overwintered peppers, like this jalapeno. And this is the biggest and brightest of my peppers. These tomatoes look really awesome. They were started earlier and got up potted to bigger containers, so they're doing the best. Whereas fronts like those were started later and kept in smaller containers and look pathetic. And then I have experiments like the corn there and the sunflowers that are staying too long in those containers, so that's a little bit iffy. Otherwise, there's lots of things going on up here. There's not usually that much new and exciting here in the garden, but this year, there's definitely a lot of new things. Here's some of it. We just planted the honeyberry. There's one. That's 2. This is a mulberry, which you only need 1. That's the white one. And then the emerald carpet raspberry is under here, being left alone by the dog, thankfully. So these are just still sticks in the ground. So we won't be seeing any activity for a while. I won't often share trees and shrubs in these garden tours. I'll probably do those separately and less often because, those things don't do much. These are 9-bark. They have such beautiful flowers. Beautiful. Also, an early bloomer is the comfrey. They're just so darling. I wish they weren't so far from everything. So cute. There's also stinging nettle in here. Not flowering yet, thankfully. Another early bloomer is one of the daylilies. This is from my mother-in-law's yard, so not exactly sure what that is. This wild space you'll just have to admire from afar. Still working on this little thing that usually houses cosmos, and usually there's volunteers. I think these are volunteer cosmos. I'm not always correct in my thought processes. The last of my overwintering jugs is alyssum plants. Those need to get into a bed at some point. What's new? Wait, what came back is a red vein sorrel, which had disappeared for the winter. And there it is, back at it again. So those are awesome. That is Dusty Miller that I just put in. And we also have asparagus here that mostly have gone past their prime. But once in a while, you still get something edible. Other things I've done here recently is put in these hyacinths. These were bargain basement quality, but I'm hoping they have a couple of years in them and will come back next time. Back there, well, the main new thing here is this fence. Back there is a wonderful thornless raspberry. It has grown ridiculously since 2 years ago. It has spread itself, and so at some point I'm going to have to be thinning out because that's way too much. This right here I thought was a weed. It's growing right up against one of my figs that hopefully this year will be saved with the fence. But it turns out I remembered, thankfully, that this is sunchokes. So sunchokes used to grow like over here, and then I dug some out, and then it moved over here, and I thought those were goners, and now it's over there. So sunchokes are prolific spreaders. Be careful where you put them. And that's why they are now in containers. And I thought I had contained all of them, but apparently those got away from me. Now this container got eaten up where it was before, so these have recently been moved here where they're more exposed to the sun and fenced in. So hopefully they will be safe. And then in this bed, I had this planted in here like a month or so ago, artichoke. It's looking good. This is a volunteer potato, so that's awesome. And that is recently planted pumpkins, two different kinds. I think it's the Big Macs and the New England pumpkin. And the rest of the bed, I still haven't figured out what to put in. Over here, these raggedy looking stalks are my chia. I just put them in, so they've been root bound like terrible. Hopefully they bounce back. They take a really long time to give seed, so this might not be the year for them either. We shall see. In this bed, my lemon balm exploded. That's crazy. I recently planted in some more bee balm because this other bee balm, wild bergamot, I thought was a goner, but it is coming in slowly. And then over here is hyssop, and that looks very good. That transplanted well. And that was winter sown, and that was winter sown. And this field is my calendula. I think it needs to be thinned, don't you? Yeah. And then in this corner, which the dog had dug up, so I'd lost some plants anyway, I put in my bells of Ireland. Only one stalk came up from the winter sow, so hopefully that will give me lots of plants in the future. See lavender there, some muscari that have gone their past. There's also supposed to be saffron, but can't find them. The allium balls are on their way out. There's a different kind of allium coming up soon. But these muscaris are doing really well, even though they looked like they were on their way out. And then over here, I recently transplanted my sweet peas. They look sad. Hopefully they'll bounce back. The strawberries in some of these containers are not very happy. This is a hollyhock that self-seeded. This, I should really protect this better. This is my lone marshmallow. I've had such a hard time getting marshmallow to come up. So I do have one. It's looking good from the transplant. This was winter sown. So I'm hoping that makes it. So I have a few sweet peas. There's another hollyhock. This is a columbine that I planted a long time ago. But I planted another columbine recently. Where did I put it? It was a winter sown one. I don't remember where I put it. Oh, it's over here. I remember. This is also, is that what I put? Columbine? Yep, that's columbine. So that should be good in the future. I'm looking forward to these strawberries. So these are babies from the mother. More importantly, we actually have berries ripening. So that is very exciting. This is another container here with lots of berries. It's loaded. I think it has lots of ants too. And then over here, another daughter plant with berries coming in. Yum, yum, yum. And honestly, my driveway hollyhocks are the most prolific. I think it's because of the warmth transferred from the pavement. They bloom the fastest, the first, and the prettiest. Hopefully these are the really dark, almost black ones, but they have, there are some shifts in colors. So sometimes I get like a whitish pink, which is beautiful also. Another area we've corralled. These are some wild mustard greens that I feed to the chickens every so often. I'll be clearing out this space here for the basil. This is all yarrow, very big. That is a, oh, you can't really see it, kale that I let go to flower because it's beautiful. This is a sage plant that unfortunately is too close to the fence, so it's right up on it. These are my self-seeding chamomile. So awesome that I never have to seed these again. Although I did buy, this is German chamomile. I did buy Roman to see if there was any difference in flavor. There's also some wayward like marigolds in there, and oregano has spread itself. This ridiculous plant is feverfew. It's really exploded. Also being pushed out by my sweet William. This was a indoor sown experiment, not this winter, but the winter before, and it looked so pathetic. But now it's exploded and it's beautiful. This was the flower at my wedding, my centerpiece my centerpiece flowers. So I've always had a soft spot for that. Amongst these, I see a tag for cilantro, something self-seeded. I never know if it's cilantro or parsley that's self-seeded, but that's also in there. My other line of yarrow, and then this giganticness is another hollyhock. Over here is where my thyme, nice flowers, and there's another bunch there of thyme, smaller. So this has overwintered for 3 years now. And then also interspersed are dill, parsley, cilantro, and fennel. I don't know how well the fennel is doing. Doesn't look so great. And then this one, I think I probably ask every year. I don't know what it is, but it looks pretty for a while until I discover that it's a weed, and then it goes. And it's also already covered in aphids. So maybe it's a good thing that it's here because it's attracting the aphids. So it's a trap crop. So here's another view of the plants in here. This is mint. Yeah, I don't want this here. And then here's the oregano. And then the foxglove. So this 1, 2, and 3 I planted specifically. This bunch was supposed to be something else, the seed packet said, but they turned out to be foxglove. Thank goodness I didn't eat them because they are highly poisonous. But now they're beautiful. It didn't do anything last year but leaves. This year it is glorious. Right? I think so. So eventually that will go to the chickens and more beautiful flowers will take this place. I'm thinking maybe amaranth. I think amaranth would do well. So this is rare. I never hardly get whatever this is for very long because the caterpillar really ravages this plant. But this year, there barely been any caterpillars. I mean, they've been here. You can tell by the lack of full leaves, but I've seen the birds eating at it. This is like the most full this plant has ever been of leaves. Every year since we've come, it's always looked like this at this point. And the flowers never hold on for very long. And they smell divine. The azaleas are on their way out. My other plants of death. Here's another container of strawberries that's also bearing fruit. Yummy! I have a bearded iris in here. This is its 2nd year. I still don't see any flowers. Is this a later blooming one, I hope? And then recently, I had to pull up all my onions. Very sad. And revamp this bed. So I have mostly brassicas, Swiss chard, broccoli, kale, cabbage in here. And there's some random garlic. This is an empty space of weeds, mustard green, some onion, random onion that's been there. The green stalk, ignore that flop on top. I was working on something else and this became the resting place for some mesh. But I've got supposed to be strawberries, but lettuce seeds got in there, so Some good looking lettuce coming up. Here's another one. But yeah, we have some good looking strawberries. We've got some good looking bok choy or tats. No. Which one's that? Pak choy, I think. The onions here are doing better and fine. This is a borage. I believe this is bok choy because those are always the first to go to flower. Another borage, and no, this is pak choy, and the other one, the first one was tatsoi. That's it. And yeah, more lettuce intermixed with the strawberries, and more strawberries. Out here, I also have my lantana that always looks bad for a while before it gets used to the sun, even though it's been out here for weeks. This also got started indoors. Ginger. Hopefully, I'll have something to show for under there at the end of the year. And the citronella has had a rough life. It's big. I don't know if, I mean, I've trimmed it quite a bit because the leaves, just branches were just all over the place and it was inside. But I mean, it's going to be fine. It's got new leaves coming in. But should I cut it way back? Yeah, maybe I'll cut it way back in the fall. Here's another little nest of lettuce. Lettuce grows really slow here. It's supposed to be like 40 days for lettuce. That never happens for me. But these had been seeded, and then these are transplants from indoor sowings. Over here, we have a few more strawberries. This is a galleta, one of the few that I know the names of, and it was like the lone survivor of some for sale ones. This is a transplant from the previous other times. And then these are potatoes, just little potatoes that I had extra around, so I decided to get more little potatoes, so I put them in here. These are my pride and joy strawberries. I worked very hard for these because they're in this container and away from most critters, even though they still get at them, especially the squirrels. But I'm hoping this year the dog is going to keep those pesky squirrels away. So see, ants. Ants make these like mounds around the base of the strawberries and destroying the fruit. And over here we have a protected from the dog mainly, hopefully also from squirrels, the Silfire lone survivor of peas, because the ones I put in the ground directly like a month ago either disappeared or are doing very poorly where I put them. So hopefully these will give me something before it gets too hot. There's also a volunteer little tomato, I don't know what, over there. Welcome to Pallet Alley, which is no longer so much of a pallet alley. This is currently empty because there's critters in there and they keep taking my plants, so no more plants. This sunchokes are doing well in here. That's going to stay. This pallet was just revamped, not finished yet. I have another one of these to install because these are my squashes. Fining. This is my Moroccan squash, Blue Hubbard. I only had one survive. Butternuts and acorns. Did I put 3 acorns? What is that? Why doesn't it have a tag? That's something. Then I was saving that corner for something else. Why is it don't I remember? Crap. Well, hopefully those all survive, but if not, I'm holding on to a few extras that don't look very good, but they'll live for a while. Now, this new bed used to be a pallet also, but now that is falling apart, so this is taking its place. This took all day to make. I've got zucchini. I don't need 3 of them, but you know, insurance purposes, we put 3 in. I flopped in a moonflower there, just in case it grows to vine. It'll be beautiful and smell good. I also have 6, 2 different varieties of sweet potatoes there. Now, I can either put more sweet potatoes here where it's covered by these things, or I can plant something else. I haven't decided. This square root foot gardening method is really saving my butt with analysis paralysis of what to put where. My carrots are doing really lovely. So far, so good. Knock on all the wood. My leeks, I thought I'd lost them because they were gnawed to bits, but they came back. So I also reseeded because I thought I lost them. This potato bucket's doing really well. This is celeriac, doing fine. This is a celery that overwintered. I expect it'll flower. I think that's a biennial. Here's another moonflower I'm hoping for good results with. More leeks. And those are cucumbers and a loofah. I only had one loofah survive me. Only had one Armenian cucumber, so I did seed another one. Cucumber has time for me. And then these two sad looking things are a pickling variety. If these don't do in the next week, I'll reseed and start over with that. Back here is an empty bed that I'm going to use more of a border versus an actual raised bed. So I plan on putting some of my mint in these containers and then some flowering things over here. I have a few more foxgloves that overwintered. This is shady in this area, so they're not growing as fast. My snapdragons were done. I do have new snapdragons to put in, but I'm not there yet. But I also have these yarrow, which are different colors. These should be pastel-y, whereas the ones I have an abundance of in the front are golden ones. And let me not forget my rhubarb. They do really well here in the shade. Other areas I plugged things in from my my winter sowing jug. This is a Cleome. It's such a beautiful specimen. I'm hoping it doesn't mind too much crowding and not that much sun. Also in this bed are some sage that I planted a couple of years ago. There's wild raspberry. That sage came from our house 5 years ago. There's coreopsis that's from here. There's also like echinacea and black-eyed Susans in here. Turning around, this is my asparagus area. I did put in some more because I still had some seeds in a packet. So I seeded those, I sowed those, and I planted them recently. So I made spaces in between the established plants. These I just did today, or I finished today. Yeah, barrels. I really want to get some melons, and this is the best place for melons because they're in full sun most of the day. So since I can't get them to grow in the ground, I'm hoping maybe the containers will help me get that accomplished. I had a really good year of asparagus, and it was too much, so I actually didn't keep up with it as well as I would have liked. But like I said, with the cold turn in the weather, we are still getting some nice harvest. This little patch is my daughter's gladiolus bed, but those bulbs looked really pathetic, so I don't even know if they're going to come up. I'll give them a couple more, a little while longer, but otherwise I'm going to plant my zinnias here like I did last year. And here are mostly my blueberries. I did lose a few over the winter. Either they didn't survive or they got dug up. But, oh, I also have volunteer potatoes. I had no idea that I had left those in there, or they were buried by something. Our blueberries are coming in slow and steady, but this plant is doing really well, but it's always been the strongest. The new ones I put in last year, not showing up too much, and it might be too early. Well, this one has fruit. That is promising. I've tried to keep up with the fertilizing, and it's rained, so I haven't had to water much. Here we have recently inoculated 20 foot of mushroom. This is the wine cap. I got weeds upon weeds to worry about before I can put my tomatoes in. And then over here is usually where I put like eggplant and okra and my corn. So I haven't touched this space at all because I've been too busy. But the garlic's doing well over here. More garlic doing well. This is the buckwheat cover crop. They're starting to flower, so I will be terminating them shortly and leave them as a green manure. I've been also pulling out a great deal of acorns or oak seedlings, and then I left there, because I thought it looked interesting, but obviously it's taking over. So once I identify what it is, I will either relocate it or terminate it altogether. That bed is similar with garlic, buckwheat, and this bed, overgrown kale. No, that's overgrown Brussels sprouts. They all look the same. More garlic, more buckwheat, but also I seeded amongst the weeds are more red vein sorrel. They're actually really tasty when they're young. And then in my containers here, these are kind of on their way out, some of them, because they're spring veggies, not summer. These are my arugula, which are already going to flower, and the mizuna. This is like my spicy, spicy veggies. And then this is the bok choy, pak choy, and tatsoi, all also flowering. This is turnip and radish. They're doing very well. Pokey. Beets, all very overgrown with weeds. I gotta get to that. Another celery that's overwintered. And my potatoes. I'm hoping these grow bigger potatoes. And I see it's starting to flower. Look at that. Amazing. And then over here is the spinach, also starting to flower. And here are some Swiss chard. They will do well in the summertime. I should plant more of these. I'll have to do a chicken coop tour some other day when I've cleaned it up thoroughly. All right, this more of a mishmash bed are some giant asparagus. So asparagus, if you leave them a lot of space, will get very fat and like almost like trees. So to remedy that, I have put in more of my, no, I'm too far away, but I have a whole bunch more asparagus twigs in there. But see, can you see? This is peas. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 6 is all that came up of a whole bunch that I put in, and they're barely tall enough for anything. So the peas were not a success in this spot. What is a success is this self-seeded kale. I'm not sure if it's the red Russian or the something else, Ursa kale or something like that. I gotta look at the package. But this self-seeded, so I have no shortage of kale. So I can pretty much terminate the kale I have in that other bed because I don't need it. I also have 2 of my artichokes in here. They're doing really well. So far, so good. They're growing. Hopefully they keep growing and I can actually have some artichoke this year. And the other large bed of rhubarb. Oh yeah, I forgot. I bought some things at the plant sale. One of them being hellebores. So that was the existing, and then this is the one I just planted. So this was Mother's Day that I bought these. So I'm hoping they will get nice and big, and I'll have a whole bunch more here at some point. I always inevitably forget a whole bunch of stuff. So this is one of them. This is another fig, a Chicago Hardy that I purchased along with the mulberry. So that one's looking good. And I think this is the last thing of the plants I bought the Mother's Day sale. My lamb's ear. So excited that I don't have to use mullein to wipe my booty. Just kidding. But yeah, this is supposed to be the toilet paper of the nature world. It's so soft. It's like a bunny or a cat's ear. But yeah, I transplanted it. It looks healthy enough. Hopefully it is, and it will do well here and spread. It's always so much fun to take stock of everything I've accomplished so far and share them with all of you. I hope you enjoyed. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Till next time, so I'll harvest more.